Hey there and welcome. We're about to tackle a topic that can feel, a little complicated taxes. But don't you worry, we're going to break it all down in the simplest way I can think of, with a little help from some monkeys and their bananas, or leaves. Let's get into it. You ever get that paycheck, you look at it, and you just get that feeling like a chunk of it is missing? Like someone just snuck in and grabbed a few of your hard-earned bananas right out of the bunch. Yeah, you're not alone. So let's figure out exactly where they went. Okay, so to do that, let's set the scene. First up, meet Monkey. He's going to be our guide through this whole thing. And Monkey, well, he's a lot like us. He's a really hard worker. He puts in the hours at the local banana farm. And for all that effort, he gets paid in leaves. And this brings us right to that moment that confuses pretty much everybody the first time it happens. Getting that first paycheck. Monkey's done the work, he's ready for his reward, but yeah, he is in for a big surprise. So at the end of a long, tough week, Monkey has officially earned 100 leaves. He's thrilled. He's already daydreaming about all the bananas he's going to buy with his hard-earned cash. I mean, leaves. But hold on. Before those 100 leaves can even get to him, the monkey government just swoops in and takes 20 of them. Poof, gone. And Monkey's just standing there confused and, kind of mad. What in the world just happened? So what he's left with, what he actually gets to put in his pocket, is only 80 leaves. He did the work for 100, but he only takes home 80. Those missing 20 leaves? That is tax. So let's just put a clear definition on it. A tax is just the leaves, or for us, money, that every working monkey has to chip in to the monkey government. And the whole point is to collect all those leaves to help run the entire jungle for everybody. Okay, but that leads to the biggest question of all, right? Why? Why does the government get to take monkeys' leaves to begin with? Where does it all go? Let's take a look at what they actually do with it. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because those 20 leaves, they don't just vanish into thin air. They go to work. They're paying for all the stuff that makes the jungle a decent place to live. We're talking about schools for the little monkeys, hospitals for when you fall out of a tree, police and firefighters keeping everyone safe, even things like public transport, libraries, and big, ambitious projects like space programs. So it's not really theft. It's more like a contribution to the society we all share. All right, so we get what tax is and why we pay it, but how does it actually work? The system can look super complicated from the outside, but once you get the basic building blocks down, it's a whole lot less scary. Let's break it down. The first thing you gotta know is that tax isn't just one single thing. There are all sorts of different kinds. So those leaves taken from Monkey's paycheck, that's income tax. But then there's sales tax when you go buy stuff, property tax on your treehouse, and even corporate tax that the big monkey businesses have to pay. This is the million-leaf question, isn't it? Does every single monkey pay the exact same amount? Well, the short answer is nope. It all depends on how many leaves you earn. And this is where we have to talk about something called tax brackets. Okay, this right here is probably the most misunderstood thing about taxes. So many monkeys think that if you're in the 22% tax bracket, your entire pile of leaves gets taxed at 22%. But that's just not how it works. It's progressive. You only pay that higher rate on the part of your income that falls into that bracket. So your first chunk of leaves is taxed at a super low rate, maybe even zero. The next chunk gets taxed a bit more, and so on. Getting the step-by-step idea is absolutely key. So at the end of the year, every monkey has to kind of settle up with the government. And we call this filing a tax return. It basically boils down to these 3 steps. First, you add up every single leaf you earned all year. Second, you see how much tax was already taken out of your paychecks. And third, and this is a big one for a lot of folks, you look for your deductions. So, what in the world are deductions? Well, think of them as work-related costs that you can subtract from your total income. Maybe you had to buy a special uniform for the banana farm, or some new tools, or maybe you took a course to level up your banana peeling skills. By subtracting those costs, you actually lower the amount of income you get taxed on. It's the government's way of making sure you're only paying tax on your actual profit. All right, we have covered a lot of ground. What tax is, why we pay it, how it's calculated. So now let's zoom out a bit and look at the bigger picture. We're talking about what happens if things go wrong and how the system works for the wealthiest monkeys in the jungle. Yeah, the monkey government does not mess around when it comes to collecting its leaves. If you just decide not to pay, it usually starts with a warning letter. Then they start adding interest, so you owe even more. If you still don't pay, they can actually take the leaves from you. And in the most extreme cases, it can even land you in prison. So it's definitely something you want to stay on top of. Now, this is a really important point for understanding how the whole system is set up. See, most monkeys get their leaves from working a job, and that's taxed as income. But a lot of wealthier monkeys make their money a different way, by selling assets like stocks or a fancy treehouse for a profit. That profit is taxed as a capital gain. So what's the big difference? Well, in a lot of jungles, the tax rate on those capital gains is way, way lower than the tax rate on income from a regular job. And this little detail is at the heart of so many debates about fairness. And you've got to remember, not all jungles play by the same rules. Not even close. Tax rates are wildly different all over the world. A high-earning monkey in a place like Finland might pay more than half their income in tax. Meanwhile, in a place like the Cayman Islands, that rate is zero. A big, fat zero. And this massive difference is exactly why you hear about some really rich monkeys and huge companies setting up shop in what people call tax havens. Okay, I know that was a ton of information, but the goal here isn't to make you nervous. It's to empower you. Seriously, just understanding how this whole system works is the first step to taming that tax beast and, making peace with it. So how do you make this whole thing less scary in your own life? It really comes down to three simple things. First, make a budget for your leaves so you're always in control. Second, track your work expenses all year long. You don't want to leave any of those deductions on the table. And third, and this is a big one, remember, you don't have to figure it all out by yourself. If you're feeling overwhelmed, that's what professional tax accountants are for. So we'll leave you with this classic quote. Taxes might just be one of those unavoidable things in life, but they absolutely do not have to be a source of fear or confusion. Hopefully, this little explainer has shown you that once you understand the rules of the jungle, you're in a way better position to navigate it. You're not the confused monkey anymore, watching your bananas disappear. Now, you're the monkey who knows exactly where they're going and why.